Ryan Reaves and Arber Xhekaj clapping back at each other as Reaves says, "Oh, I don't like to get jumped," but Xhekaj says, "Hey, I'm glad that I protected my teammates and I'm proud of myself." We'll be diving into that, plus Juraj Slafkovsky with statistically the best game of his Habs career, all that, and some potential Habs moves on this episode of Habs Digest. Let's jump into this, this fact that some Habs moves need to be made, Jesse. And I know we keep talking about this. We're going to put this right at the front of the video to keep you guys informed about this, but the AHL situation is not very good right now. As Marco D'Amico points out, you see the guys Olivier Galipo, Riley McKay, Mesar, Mishak, Davidson, Baudin, Aimont, Legaré, and Brady Keeper were all removed for the opening match of the Rocket. They have 9 extras. 9 extras. And as Marco D'Amico says, it makes signings like Lucas Condata all the more puzzling to me when you have Davidson, Mishak. But it is really concerning in some ways, Jesse. We have some promising young guys, especially like Mesar and Davidson, who showed out in the preseason, who really deserve a chance. But with the sheer amount of players that the Habs have down in Laval, you got to think a move needs to be made at some point to get rid of some of these guys to make room for the true guys that the Habs want to develop.
Yeah, it's a good situation to have so many prospects, but not such an ideal situation when they're not getting ice time to really play and develop, because that's really the name of the game for the Canadiens, but also for the Laval Rocket, right? Because these guys figure to be a big part of our future. Some of them, like we're looking at somebody like Filip Mesar, that was a first round draft pick for us last year. So the fact that he's not playing right now, that's kind of an issue. So it seems like we all knew that this was coming, whether it's with the Habs or with the Rocket. We just have so many players at so many positions. So it almost seems like the future is now, right? We need to make sure that these players are getting ice time. So, I mean, you have to figure like KEnt Hughes is going to have to make some pretty important decisions in terms of what players he wants to keep pretty soon.
Yeah, and I'm most a little worried about like Jared Davidson. Like I know he wasn't expected to be an NHL level guy, but man, he had such a phenomenal preseason, great prospect camp, and now he's just getting bumped out in Laval with some veterans. Like I mean, Yoel Armia, I get it. He's playing top 6, it makes sense, but especially guys like again Mesar and Davidson specifically, like I don't know. Like again, Jesse, like I said, you either got to trade him or you got to just cut some of the other guys ahead of him. And I understand that Laval Rocket has a few like AHL veterans, a few guys that feel like they deserve the minutes over them. But at this point, do you see a world maybe even within the first few weeks of the season, because this is clearly a pressing issue right now after like a week or two of the Rocket having probably 8-9 guys scratched every single night? You got to think KEnt Hughes is like realizes there's maybe an urgent situation down there.
That's it. That's it. It's I think KEnt Hughes wants to be patient because obviously just so many teams are so strapped right now, which really prevents so many trades from being done right now. So you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But as more time goes on, it'll make it easier for KEnt to make some moves. So I think he's just gonna be patient. He's gonna bide his time. But obviously, we need to make some time for some of our young promising prospects.
For sure, and there's no better transition to the next topic other than by saying, young promising prospects. We got to talk a bit about Slaf. Now, look, I know this game was a couple nights ago, but holy moly, he was so good, and he's had a few things to say since then, but let's just go into some of his stats. Big Head Hockey posted about his game. He had over 15 minutes time on ice with an assist, 6 shot attempts, which is the second highest of his career, 3 hits, had +1 net takeaways, 70% expected goals for percentages, and when he was on the ice 5v5, his team was expected to score a goal, 70% versus 30% for the other team. First among Habs forwards, and the game card, which I don't have here, showed that Slafkovsky had the second biggest impact on the entire team, except for Kirby Dach. Jesse, look, his confidence is something we talked about for so much heading into the season, and he has really, really shown some elite confidence in these last preseason games into the first regular season game, and he's finally showing out. Like, if he plays every game this season like that, and he's just 19, we have a really, really good one on our hands.
It's true, because as we know, as we say all the time with Slaf, it's about confidence, because he's the type of player that he expects the best out of himself. And this isn't like a rarity. Like, all the best players are very hard on themselves. Like, the outside pressure is nothing compared to the pressure they put on themselves to compete, to get better. So just having such an amazing start is so huge, right? And I love those stats that you brought up. Like, arguably Kirby Dach and Juraj Slafkovsky are 2 of our best forwards that night. And amazing that they were on a line together, surprisingly. Well, not surprisingly in this case. Like, and it kind of leads me to think, we always talk about, Nick and Cole, could we now be talking about like Dach and Slafkovsky? Are we going to get some sort of
Slafkovsky,
weird
maybe?
nickname, right? For them, right? Like, right? Are they going to become a thing now that we just see them as a staple? Because, I mean, that would be very exciting. As we know, if you're Slafkovsky, if he is able to kind of keep up this pace and, dare I say, improve, which I think he totally will over the course of an 82 game period, we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg still with him. Like, this obviously, he has the power to tremendously affect the speed of this rebuild. If he just takes a quantum leap, of course, the fate of the Montreal Canadiens is going to be attached to that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, quantum leap, like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Like, it's crazy. I mean, the amount of people that were saying, oh, I don't know about Slaf, and like, look, I understand there were valid concerns with Slafkovsky, and we raised them. However, like, being a believer in Slaf, it's like, again, look how young he was, look at his frame, look at what he's done in the past, look how he looks when he's confident. And you're very right, like, his discourse with the team has been amazing. Having Marty St. Louis, right, like Slaf being so hard on himself, with Marty saying, hey, here's what you do good, sometimes it's the opposite. It's just working wonders for him so far, and we just hope that he continues playing at this level. But time to get into the fun stuff, Jesse. Oh my gosh, I didn't think that this was going to get talked about much, but holy God, Xhekaj is untouchable. I love him. I love him. I love him. So if you guys didn't catch this, just a little while ago, Ryan Reaves had this to say about the scrap with Arber Xhekaj. He said, quote, I don't like getting jumped. I don't know if I've really jumped anybody. If you want to fight, just ask me. I'm always around. You know where to find me. Okay, geez, Ryan. Well, I don't know how Ryan Graves feels about that. Go search up Ryan Reaves, Ryan Graves. I don't know how Ryan Suter feels about that. Go search Ryan Reaves, Ryan Suter. I don't know how Anze Kopitar, who took a out of nowhere stray elbow from Ryan Reaves, feels about that. A guy who has plenty of incidents where he has jumped someone, but when he boards Cayden Guhle on the numbers, clearly on the numbers into the boards, and Arber Xhekaj grabs him, they lock eyes before they drop the mitts. Yeah, that's a bit too far, I think. But Arber Xhekaj said that Reaves threw some pretty big hits. I just want to stick up for my teammates. I'm definitely proud of how I carried myself. Yeah, this is just crying, I think, from Ryan Reaves. And look, I'm not in the NHL. I'm not going to fight Ryan Reaves. He's bigger than me. He would beat the crap out of me. I'm not pretending that wouldn't happen. However, this kind of thing, when Ryan Reaves has done so many worse things to players, to say this about Xhekaj is just kind of comical.
It is, but I think a lot of the internet, apparently, according to hockeyfights.com, 67.6% of people thought that Arber Xhekaj got the best of that tussle. For me, I think there was no debate. The net just got in the way, they were wrestling, but it's like, I wasn't surprised to see how that ended up either, with Xhekaj on top with the stare down. Like, we forget that Xhekaj is taller and heavier than Ryan Reaves. Xhekaj is 6'4", 240 compared to Ryan Reaves 6'2", 226. Like, this is a bigger guy. When I don't know if Ryan Reaves really wants Xhekaj that much, like getting showed up from a guy like basically still a rookie, getting dropped, that wouldn't be a great look for Ryan Reaves on a new team. So he could be kind of talking right now, but I don't know if he really wants to smoke when it comes to Xhekaj.
Well, if he does, unfortunately, has to wait a long time to get it, because the Habs and Leafs don't play again until March. Who made this schedule?
What?
I don't understand it. However, you're very right. I mean, but Xhekaj has such a great resume already with that Zach Cassian fight. Oh my goodness, right? Like, I feel like him and Ryan Reaves, that would be an amazing tilt. But let's talk a bit about Xhekaj before we finish off the video on just how great of a teammate he is. And there's a reason I put the card as saying he is untouchable at this point. His presence on the Habs cannot be understated. To have a guy like that who's willing to go out and protect you at every single moment, guess what? Reaves was completely unnoticeable for the entire rest of the game. The Leafs didn't even get a little bit physical with the Habs. And I think that's partially because they knew Arber Xhekaj was there waiting for them. And that kind of thing, we talked about it in theory before the season, but to see that in action and to see the ripple effect it has had, it's just like, it's phenomenal. It's exactly what this team needs.
Yeah, because Arber Xhekaj is the type of player that understands the game within the game. A true disciple of Martin St. Louis. Like, he understands the physicality that's involved. Obviously, he has that offensive upside as well, which we know is great. He's going to do nothing but just kind of improve defensively, but he really knows when it's the time to stand up for your teammates, the momentum of a hockey game, everything else, right? I think he brings so much to this team, like, especially what we're building towards is being perennial playoff team. Now, personally, I think I would love to see, and I think I can speak for you as well, Josh, we would love to see Arber Xhekaj in a playoff series. Like, how amazing that would be. Like, this is the type, he's already a great player, but that's the type of hockey that really suits him. That's when he's going to excel. That's why it's so important to have these type of players on your team, like not just in the regular season, take care of business, but also there to thrive when it really matters the most. He's just the type of player that really steps up to the occasion. There's no other player on the Habs that comes close to filling this role that he does. And just the fact that now we can start getting him on the power play, start seeing that offensive game kind of coming out. I mean, now we're really starting to talk about, the full complete package.
Yeah, the fact that he's doing all this while still being a power play quarterback with a heavy shot that has a knack for getting to the net is really just amazing. He's kind of a unicorn in today's NHL, right? Sort of in the wrong era, as we've liked to say before, but the man is he ever valuable to this team. I mean, Pezzetta likes to drop the mitts too, but Xhekaj's a different beast. You stick him on the power play, he goes out there, he fights the other team's biggest guy, and he's an intimidating factor. There's no one like him, especially not in the Habs and probably not in the NHL. And honestly, it's a privilege to be able to watch him every night. But that'll do it for this news episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 10,000 subs. We're getting pretty darn close, so we'd really appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button and show your support. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.